Hello, welcome to our webinar, a recording of our professional development module that we developed as part of the International Leaders in Education Program training at James Madison University in May 2018. My name is Kalema-Golooba. I am a teacher of geography from Uganda. I developed this module together with teachers from other countries, Veronica Tampur from Ghana, John Nelson Mudok from Indonesia. The title of our professional development module is Using Authentic Assessment to Foster Effective Learning. Now, why is this important? It is important because, as Peter Drucker noted, that what gets measured gets done. In the current education system where we are, the students are tested and examined using the traditional means of assessment, exams and tests. These methods capture recall of knowledge. They capture knowledge. And because of that, the teaching is geared towards recalling knowledge, which is not effective at all. If we want to progress, we need students who are able to think critically, to collaborate, to solve problems. The current system does not test those areas, and consequently, the teachers do not teach those. I'm willing to bet that the current system, in fact, hinders the development of higher order thinking skills and makes learning ineffective. It kills 21st century skills among students because they are never measured. So things like collaboration skills, problem solving, creativity, innovation, tolerance are ignored at the altar of national exams. It is because of that that we think that it is important to think of authentic assessment. Our professional development module is divided into 3 units. Each of the units is interlinked and focuses on the objective. The first module focuses on characteristics of authentic assessment. The second module describes the steps to design problem-based tasks, while the third module focuses on creating rubrics to assess performance tasks. What are the details of each of these units? Now, the objective of the first unit or session is that the participants will be able to describe the characteristics and features of authentic assessment and their importance to effective learning. The participants are introduced to this through a discussion of the current methods of assessment they use, why they use them. It is then followed by an introduction to the characteristics of authentic assessment in an interactive presentation. The participants then compare traditional means of assessment with authentic assessment. In the second unit or module session, the participants should be able to identify the steps of problem-based assessment by designing an activity in their content area that encourages effective learning. It starts with the game of constructing a bridge, which is an authentic task that is then assessed. It is then followed with an interactive presentation of the steps of authentic assessment, and the participants working in their subject areas, groups, they design problem-based tasks and present them to their peers and get feedback. The third module focuses on designing rubrics for problem-based assessment, and the objective is that they should be able to create a rubric to assess students' performance in problem-based tasks or activities. It starts with a chocolate chips activity where they assess the chocolate chips activity that highlights congruity between the skills and the criteria. The participants then go through an interactive presentation that introduces them to the different forms of rubrics and the steps in designing them before they sit down to design rubrics in their subject areas that assess the problems they developed. They make presentations and get feedback. So, what are the characteristics of authentic assessment? This is part of the units that we are going to talk about today. What are the characteristics? Before we do that, we need to know, what is assessment? Assessment is a process of gathering information from a variety of sources. For example, assignments, demonstrations, projects, performance tasks, and tests, with a view of providing descriptive feedback to guide improvement. The purpose is not to place students in the achievement level, but to guide feedback. It can be done by teachers, by peers, and by individual students. It is supportive and it is an ongoing process. Assessment is different from evaluation. Evaluation, on the other hand, is a process of judging the quality of a student's work on the basis of established achievement criteria and assigning a value to represent that quality. So we say A, B, C, or 27. Assessment, on the other hand, helps us to provide feedback. Evaluation reflects the student's level of achievement based on the established curriculum expectation at a given time. And it is used to determine whether or not the students have been successful in acquiring knowledge. Therefore, we can argue that evaluation can be used as a tool for accountability, and that is probably its main purpose. Assessment, on the other hand, is primarily for improvement. What is authentic assessment? That is the center of our proposal, our professional development module. Authentic assessment is that form of assessment where students are asked to perform real-world tasks that demonstrate meaningful application of what they have learned in terms of the skills and knowledge. And it is based on challenging tasks which resemble real-life situations. They may be asked, for example, to construct a replica of a bridge, to write a letter to a leader in their community. Tasks that have meaning and appear or mimic the real world. Authentic assessments may include things like carrying out experiments, portfolios of students' works, asking students to carry out interviews, or conducting primary research, or even to debate an issue. Those can qualify as authentic assessments. So how does it compare with the traditional means of assessment? Authentic assessment involves performing a task, while the traditional one is essentially about selecting a response, like we do with the multiple choice questions. It is based on real-life scenarios and construction and application of knowledge, as opposed to recall and recognition. It is student structured and is based on specific evidence. Let us now go into the details of each one of these particular components or features of authentic assessment. Performing a task. Authentic assessments ask students to demonstrate their understanding by performing a complex task. The task may be ambiguous without a direct answer, but it represents more meaningful application of the knowledge and skills they have learned. It is also embedded in the real-life situation where the students demonstrate proficiency by doing something, generating a real product the way adults do. The scenarios, the activities should mimic real-life situations. Number 3, it involves application and construction of knowledge. It asks students to synthesize, to analyze, and apply what they have learned in a substantial manner so that they can create new meaning in the process of authentic assessment. So authentic assessment becomes a tool for learning as much as it is a tool for providing feedback. Authentic assessments are student structured and they are flexible. They ask students to demonstrate their learning in different ways. It is not just one single way of demonstrating understanding. Some may be asked, for example, to make a podcast. Others could be asked to make a journal. The students are given choice in authentic assessment. Authentic assessments depend on direct evidence, evidence that can be measured. Now, it becomes important to realize that many people may fail to carry out authentic assessments because it is time consuming, and in many of our education systems, people do complain that there is a lot of content that needs to be taught. We understand that. Secondly, it may require resource constraints. It may require resources, and in the communities where we are, there may be resource constraints, but we call upon you to be creative, to improvise, and use local available materials. There is also resistance to change on the part of the teachers. Teachers teach the way they were taught. They assess the way they were assessed. And most educators were not assessed authentically. So it is a bit of a challenge for them to change. And some of us are in examination-oriented systems. Systems that encourage cramming of facts and knowledge. But above all, in many cases, the teacher's skill is lacking. Now, having said that, do we think that we shouldn't move ahead with it? I want to conclude with a quotation. Not everything that counts can be counted, and not everything that can be counted counts. Authentic assessment allows us to count the things that count. Allows us to test students on the skills that matter to make learning more effective. We do hope that you'll be able to pick up from this. Thank you very much.